So number one, do not be demoralized. Now is the time when it's most important to fight. And second, don't act like your voice doesn't matter. Your voice does matter. Like, this stuff really does matter.
Welcome to the Ken Harbaugh Show. I am joined today by Pat Dennis, who runs American Bridge 21st Century, one of the largest Democratic Super PACs. And at a recent award ceremony for Dennis, this was said about his leadership. Under Dennis's leadership, American Bridge 21st Century has uncovered and pitched career-ending stories on Republicans running up and down the ballot. Dennis, I love hearing that. It sounds to me like you are ready for Dems to go back on the offense.
Yeah, we're ready to fight back. You know, there's no more important time.
Yeah. What's the importance of maintaining that offensive posture and not just bolstering Democratic candidates and making sure we have the right people, but calling out the hypocrisy and in some cases the maliciousness coming from the right? Because I know you guys are thinking about the nominee fight right now.
Yeah, and it's always important to be calling these people out. It's especially important right now. I think right now is like an exceptionally strange but important time for the future of the country, in the sense that you have all these Republicans in the Senate, in the House, but even governors and further down ballot, who are just fully signed on to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has shown that he can win a national election, but he has also shown that that umbrella of protection, that his celebrity and whatever Donald Trumpness he has, does not protect the people who, are down ballot from him. So you have him, and he knows he's not running again. So he's nominating these extraordinarily extreme and unqualified people, and they have to go through the Senate, right? He wants loyalty tests from all the Republicans up and down the ballot, and you see just incredible unpopularity. Like, say what you will, but the polling I've seen has shown people are really not happy with the idea of putting an unqualified, alleged rapist in charge of the Department of Defense, right? And so our job at this point is to make sure that people know what's going on and that these Republicans are able to be held accountable, at the ballot box in 2 years and 4 years and 6 years for the choices they make today.
Do you think the fact that he is term limited, at least constitutionally, I want your serious take on whether he might run that. He's joked about it. But do you think the fact that constitutionally he's term limited will give Republican senators a little bit of backbone finally? Because we only need, 4 of them to hold up some of these more egregious nominations?
You don't get rich betting on backbones from Republican senators, right? That's a tough thing to claim. I will say that the fact that he's term limited has made his ability to care just completely go away, right? So you see him essentially saying it's my way or the highway. Folks like Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth are in a lot of ways like loyalty tests. So it's to be seen. Ultimately, though, for us, the way that anybody will stand up to Donald Trump is not because they're going to suddenly develop a backbone. It's because they're going to realize it's in their electoral interest to stand up to him. That's not an easy task, but I do think it's doable.
Can you talk about the loyalty test? I don't think most folks appreciate how characteristic of autocracy that tactic is. I mean, the classic example is Caligula nominating his horse to become a senator and demanding that the Senate applause, right? Yeah. That's Matt Gaetz, right? Matt Gaetz.
I mean, I just want to be clear, that horse is probably significantly more qualified and had definitely a better ethical record than Matt Gaetz. So I don't want to attack this horse unfairly. Matt Gaetz is far more egregious in my mind. But yeah, this is how Donald Trump operates, right? You watch people learn this consistently in Republican politics. Loyalty is a one-way street for Donald Trump, right? You are loyal to him, and that's where it ends. He will, if you're not loyal, attempt to extract retribution against you. But ultimately, any of the downstream consequences of your loyalty are your problem as a Republican politician. So, that's how he operates. Matt Gaetz, in a lot of ways, you just saw he landed, I think the news came out overnight, he landed a show at OAN. He'll be fine because he is essentially loyal, but you will note he no longer holds political office. So that's how that goes.
But that is potentially a hopeful example of senators finding just enough metal, at least behind the scenes, to stand up to someone like that. I hope they find it when it comes to Hegseth and Gabbard and some of the other ones, but I just wonder how much ammo they've got. Like how often then can they pull this off?
Here's hoping. To me, though, the real determinant for Gaetz was the House ethics investigation over him, and it's not because I think they found a backbone. I think it's because they found that they would have to release this report, and this report would reflect poorly on the entire party. And
well, it's not as if Hegseth is that much more upstanding and virtuous. There isn't an ethics report from the House of Representatives, but there are multiple police reports. I don't know if that's much better.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's another example of how this loyalty only goes one way. Like, not only will Donald Trump not step out to help the Republicans who help him on Hegseth, he's not even stepping out really to help Hegseth. Like, he nominated him, but Hegseth is on his own in a lot of ways. He's got his mom out there vouching for him, but Donald Trump is kind of leaving him to flap in the wind.
What can ordinary Americans do? What can folks who listen to and follow the Midas Touch in this show do? Because I get this question all the time. There's this feeling of not hopelessness at all, because people are eternally hopeful about America and what we can be if we put our minds to it, but they're just not sure what tactically they can do.
Yeah, I will say the first most important thing, which is not a tactic, but it is just an attitude. Like, you cannot give up, right? Especially with somebody like Donald Trump, who can, do January 6th and fight his way back and win an election. Like, that is extremely demoralizing, but like, you cannot lose faith. You cannot give in to the idea that these people are untouchable, that anything they do will be popular. Like, it's just not true. Like, we are going to win in the midterms, and it's a question of, is this going to be, we're demoralized and can't put up a strong fight, or is this going to be the loss of 2004, where we come back, we take control of the legislature in 2006, we take control of the presidency for 2 terms, we, really start to use this, what will be an extraordinarily unpopular administration as a launching pad for the future. So number one, do not be demoralized. Now is the time when it's most important to fight. And second, don't act like your voice doesn't matter. Your voice does matter. Like, this stuff, whether it's amplifying it online, amplifying it on social media, like talking to your neighbors, getting engaged in, be it formal Democratic politics or, clubs, like, this stuff, it can sound cliche, it can sound old school in 2024, but this stuff really does matter. To the extent that Republicans had success, it comes from community, it comes from their ability to connect with each other, and that's something that we should be significantly better at. And it goes into our ideology, and the important part is just being involved and never giving up.
It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break to say thank you for all the support. If you value what we do here, please consider joining our Patreon community. The holidays are almost upon us, and if you are still wondering what to get for that hard-to-shop-for person in your life, consider a Patreon gift membership. Every dollar goes back into our work. Go to patreon.com/Ken Harbaugh to check it out. Back to the show. It seems like Donald Trump's incoming administration is doing everything it can to tank the American economy, from tariffs, not intentionally, just through incompetence, tariffs, mass deportations. But one of the things I worry about is that the fundamentals, the tracks laid by the Biden administration, are are pretty good with like the CHIPS Act and the Recovery Act, and the attention paid to reducing inflation. Is there anything we can do to keep the Trump administration from taking undue credit for all of those things, even as it's trying to pull the rug out from under American workers?
There's nothing you can do to stop Donald Trump from trying to take credit. The only thing you can do is push back when he lies. And he is in a strong position. Like, honestly, the Biden economy is strong. And you've seen these graphs, right? Where Republicans, as soon as the election happened, Biden's still in office and their sense of the economy just spikes, right? That is a psychological thing, but it does mask the fact that he is in kind of a pickle, right? He's promised to do these things, which objectively, like, will raise prices on everyday Americans, like, putting in tariffs, mass deportations. Like, we've seen the power of that, like, political sense. So either he abandons his promises, which will have, let's say he abandons his tariffs, he abandons, he just does surface level stuff. He will enter a situation where the things he promised would happen aren't happening. And that creates problems with his own base. And we need to be ready to exploit that. But if he does do the things he promises, then all of a sudden we're seeing price increases. We're seeing, really consumers getting harmed. We're seeing billionaire cuts, tax cuts for billionaires, which I think we're going to see regardless. And that is not a winning situation either way it goes. So look, the fact of the matter is these people only care about like themselves and their rich donors, and their policymaking is going to reflect that. And we need to be there just to like hold them accountable for it. And yeah, that's how it goes.
That focus on the ultra wealthy, and I think at last count there were close to a dozen billionaires nominated at least for senior positions in Trump's incoming administration. Yep. That's got to be a talking point as well. And I hope it is for American Bridge.
Absolutely. I mean, you have somebody like Howard Lutnick coming in, right? $70 million to the campaign, and he's one of the smaller donors to be given political power. It's just an unbelievable sense of oligarchy. And this is not what people voted for. I mean, people kind of saw, the Elon Musk show, whatever, but people did not vote for putting Elon Musk in charge of cutting Social Security, retweeting Mike Lee, who wants to tear Social Security out by the roots, right? That is not what people were voting for. So there will be, I think, kind of a rude awakening in some sense as these people are empowered, as these people, number one, start to corruptly shift government, largesse to their own companies and their own allies, and number two, start cutting benefits for regular Americans in exchange for basically massive tax cuts for themselves. Like, there is no world where voters don't hold them accountable for that.
What is American Bridge gearing up for with 26 around the corner, and then the big one, 28?
Yeah. So it is vital that we retake the House, retake the Senate. It is, I'm not going to lie, the Senate map is fairly difficult for us, but I think we've seen that, number one, we can really perform in a midterm these days. Democratic coalition is primed for midterms. I think that offsets a lot of our disadvantages just in the map, red states, incumbents, things like that. So the other thing is like holding these senators accountable, holding the incumbents accountable, but also the Republican challengers, making sure they're tied to this what will be an unpopular administration, keeping the administration unpopular, and then bringing it further down ballot to the House members, right? A lot of the times these folks try to skate by on, they hold a press conference in their district. They usually take credit for money that came in from a bill they voted against, but these Republicans will, have events in their district and try to act like, whatever's happening that's unpopular nationally, I have nothing to do with that, but I'm trying to deliver for you. And like what we focus on is like, what are these people actually doing? Like, where are they being corrupt? Who are they helping? Who did they vote to give tax cuts to? And making sure like that's a key part of the conversation locally in their districts. So that's how we're thinking about it. And we've got some time to prepare.
Do you think there is any merit to these fears about Trump? He's making the jokes right now, but often his jokes turn into promises. that he would either run again, or folks who have parsed this say he could declare an emergency, or even, and this would be a constitutional end run as a vice president for
Hmm.
a lackey, sort of Putin style with
Yeah.
Medvedev. Um,
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I take it seriously.
Hmm.
I think January 6th showed that you cannot give a single inch of leeway to this guy. He will do anything he can to maintain power. He has no loyalty to the Constitution, no loyalty to the rule of law. Like, I 100% take it seriously. He will be very, very old at the end of this term. I think you've already been seeing him deteriorate mentally. His ability to hold a train of thought, his ability to communicate effectively. I think we are going to see he's going to be severely diminished by the end of this administration. Both, himself, but also in terms of his standing with the American people. In that world, I hope we can hold him accountable, that we can have, by that time, the full House and Senate, and be able to guide him to follow the law. But I do not give him an inch on like hoping he'll do it out of the goodness of his heart.
Me neither. Love what you guys are doing at American Bridge, Pat. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.